So, the title is a little bit of a joke. How many Brazilians do we have in the house? Okay, right in the back, so we don't see you. I'm going to explain the joke afterwards, but I don't have much time. But 4 years ago, I decided to change things up and start a startup. And I've tried this multiple times before this, and it always failed. But this time, it succeeded. We're 4 years in, and we're still going strong. And why? Now, the biggest mistake I notice people make is, they have an app idea, then they do it on the side, they have like a part-time, they treat it as a side project, they build an MVP, they're scared of sharing their MVP with people, with their colleagues, with their friends, because they're a little ashamed of what they're doing. And then they build it, they spend months on it, some even years, and finally they try to raise money. Usually they go to Y Combinator or something similar, where they get rejected and then they give up. Now, when they say 95% of startups fail, these are the startups that usually fail because they follow this formula. Now, what we did differently is we had an idea, and then we did all of these steps in parallel. So we started building the code and the MVP. We went on LinkedIn and found our persons, like ideal sales candidates, and we found their email, and we started emailing them with the idea before we even built 100 lines of code. And we did this also with investors. We went on LinkedIn, found angel investors, and just asked them for feedback without trying to push our idea on it. And the same with hiring. We started creating like a hiring pipeline before we even had money to hire engineers. And using this easily, in 2 months, we had an MVP, we had people in the pipeline to hire, and we had investors lined up who managed to give us like $800,000 to build our project. Now, I can tell you when building a product and choosing a framework, your biggest enemy is time. Like in our industry, in our ecosystem, every week something new happens, we have a new framework, and you don't want to be left behind or being incapable of using something that you want inside of your stack. Think about it trying to integrate now OpenAI SDK inside Angular 1. It's very, very hard to do. Probably it's not compatible, so probably the AI doesn't even know how to code in Angular 1. So choosing the tech stack for my project, my biggest fear was being left behind. So I made some rules to make sure we can always upgrade our stack and change it completely. So I didn't want to use any framework-specific UI library. I didn't want to use any framework-specific third-party libraries. And of course, I didn't want to use any no-code tools. And I also had a plan like how I'm going to build a modular design. So in the future, everything is scalable, and I can use, maybe I'll switch to micro frontends or something like this. So I wanted to build a style guide, build a component library, and of course, all modules had to be encapsulated, and every module had to be strict to design architecture. Now, I have so many rules in place that I forgot this rule by Mike Tyson, that everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. The first punch was, obviously, I wanted to not have third-party packages, that many in my package.json. But then I needed to install React DND, then I needed to install Firebase, then I needed analytics, rich text, React Quill. Then I needed other analytics, React PDF, React Lodi for videos. And it got out of hand. Now you can't even scroll inside the package.json. It has hundreds and hundreds of packages. So what did we do? So for every third party that we added, we created a wrapper component or a proxy that exposed an interface that we use in different parts of the app. So we never use a third-party NPM package in components or directly inside of our app. We always wrap it inside of a proxy that we call it. That way, if we need to change it, we just change it inside of the proxy and make the new library adhere to the old interface. Quite recently, like 6 months ago, we were using React Beautiful DND in every part of our app. We had like 5 Kanbans, we have drag and drop everywhere, and then it got deprecated. So to change it, it would have been a mess if we would have used React Beautiful DND inside of the components directly. But thankfully, we created this wrapper. And when we changed it to a new React DND library, it was very easy to change. And we went even a step further, and we created these adapters where we connect all of our third-party libraries. For example, we have different tracking libraries. We use Mixpanel, we use June, Google Analytics, Customer I/O, everything inside of our project. And we created one big analytics module where we inserted all of these. And in our components, we just call track event. So if we need to add, for example, another library to track events, we don't have to go inside each component and each feature to add all of the events again for this one. We have one singular track event where we can insert or remove different adapters. Now, another punch we received was with our component library. There were 2 talks before about design system and how important component libraries are. And we did it from the start. We created it in Figma. But inside of our project, we just had a component folder, and we added there all of our components. And this was fine at first, but as our app grew, we created multiple projects, multiple repos, and then we had to make a decision. Okay, do we extract the component library, or we just copy-paste it? And unfortunately, we made the wrong decision of copying-pasted it when we had 2 projects. And then when the third one came, we had to extract it in an NPM package. But at this point, we thought, oh, it's going to be an easy 20-minute, we just switch it. But unfortunately, the component folders got out of sync. So we had a button in one repo that was different than a button with different props. So it was really hard to basically extract it and create a component library after 2 years of development. So if I had to go back in time, I would recommend always start the component library in a different repo. And now that we have it, we can even see how cleaner the code is, because developers will think twice before changing something in an NPM package than adding a prop inside of their repository. So what we did to do this to migrate, we created Figma as our source of truth. We assigned the project lead. The library was called Coco. We have an office dog called Coco. And then we moved everything with Storybook and CI/CD inside of NPM. Now, another problem we had was we were importing our variables, typography, design tokens inside of vtest, inside vt config, like this, using additional data. And this was working fine until we noticed something about a year in, where our development setup was getting very, very, very slow. At some point, you couldn't even open DevTools because it was crashing. And the reason this was happening was inside of additional data, you should only use, in the CSS SAS plugin, you should only use SAS variables, SAS mixings. But what I did was I was adding the CSS code. And what happens is, inside of this additional data, if it finds CSS code, it's going to insert it inside every component that you have. And because of this, I had the same root definitions copied for like 9,000 times. And it became unusable. So luckily, we found it, we moved it inside of an index file, and we imported in the main head. Now, speaking about bundle size, we kept adding features, and we were lazy loading them like this with React Lazy. But unfortunately, when we were deploying, if someone was using the app at the time, and we have thousands of users daily, they would get this error because the error is called something like import dynamic module error, and their app would refresh. And of course, Vite says that this is normal, that you can have a preload error event and you can reload the page if this happens. But it's not something that we liked to do. So of course, we solved it by having a web server, web worker that checks for the latest version of the app, and then just switches the hash because Vite creates a hash that's random, but we use the version of the app as the hash. So every time we deploy, the service worker checks that we did a deploy. We have an endpoint to do that. And then in the background, deletes the old source code and uses the new source maps with the new hashes. I have the code some here. I can give it later. Now, also, what was really important to make us succeed in these 4 years, we built a lot of code, a lot of features, and what really mattered was team velocity. And the problem was, a year ago or 2 years ago, we had so many bugs because we built so fast. There was even an inside joke that for 60% of the time, the app was working every time. And what do? We implemented a no broken windows policy. So if you don't know what the broken window is basically in neighborhoods with broken windows, crime is more abundant because it normalizes crime. And we started a game. We created a bug squashing leaderboard where we gave points and medals for people for solving bugs. And during the summer when we did this, during the Olympics, we actually solved all our problems, and now we try to have everything perfectly. And of course, with the design collaboration, we use Netlify, so we do design acceptance at the PR level. So Netlify creates a URL preview link for each PR, and the designers can do product and design acceptance. Yeah. Also, I'm hosting a meetup in React Barcelona. If you're ever in Barcelona or you live in Barcelona, please check it out. It's very cool. I also do some 60-second knowledge nuggets in a newsletter. So if you want to learn more about React, just scan this code and you'll get it in your email, and it gets better every day. So thank you.